Hi everybody, this is Meredith Lego, and I'm continuing on with the series of videos on channeled teachings from Ascended Master Hilarion, getting into various topics such as the quantum field, how your thought basically influences the manifestation of the actual physical reality you live in. And in the future, we'll get into other topics like polarity and the actual science of going through the process of increasing your vibrational frequency, are also called Ascension. So this is the third video in a series that's getting more into the topic of quantum reality and how thought manifests the basic physical world that we live in. I encourage you to watch the last two videos, which are relatively short, and also to subscribe and then like if any of this content resonates with you. So the way that I channel is I tend to ask a question and get a response format. So the question that I asked in this particular session is, Hilarion, how does thought manipulate electrons? The answer I got was, as above, so below, timeline jumping, alternating. You manipulate the matrix with your mind. In addition, your intentions, matched with feelings, allow you to change to the parallel realities and timelines that match your vibrational rate and intention. So in other words, basically there's a multitude of different timelines that are out there, and based upon how we are sort of thinking and therefore vibrating as a frequency in any one moment, we basically have the ability to influence the spin rate of our electrons within our atoms and our structure, and can essentially kind of hop in and out of different timelines moment to moment. I mean, it's instantaneous based upon what our frequency is matched to whatever the timeline is. And he touched upon that a little bit in a previous version, but not a lot. The next question is, how do the patterns held by divas interact with the thoughts of beings? And divas is a topic again in, I think, the previous video. It was something I had not heard before, but he had defined divas previously to me as the consciousness of atoms, electrons, and quantum particles. So while we think of ourselves as being conscious and sort of aware of ourselves, all matter basically has some form of consciousness, even plants, even animals. And we wouldn't have thought about it, but apparently atoms and electrons are equally conscious. So they're conscious. They are considered a class of ethereal or spiritual beings, some of whom are less developed than humanity in the evolutionary ladder, and others which are more advanced. They're considered part of the elementals category, which makes sense because, when I think of atoms and electrons, they're sort of the building blocks of basic matter that you'd see for certainly earth and water. And so what Hilarion is basically saying is that, yes, they're part of the elemental category, and they are the consciousness of these fine, small building blocks of matter. So again, getting to the question I asked, how do the patterns of basically the patterns of matter held by divas interact with the thoughts of beings? So divas hold the general pattern in line with the intention of the creator. So if the creator holds a thought, an image of a new flower or a tree with purple and golden fuzzy leaves, the divas match the form with their pattern. And then I asked, are the patterns influenced by the thoughts of the divas or the creator being? And the answer is, the being in third density is the primary creator of the image and vision, but there must be a knowingness and a feeling for the pattern to emerge in third dimension reality. Similar to an ever-changing hologram that is controlled by the player, not the computer program. This is essentially called the observer effect. And so what he's essentially indicating here is that we, as sort of higher consciousness, has the ability to, through our intentions, and this kind of gets to a previous video I did, but we essentially, every time we have an intention and we have a certain feeling with that, we create a certain vibrational frequency with that. That vibrational frequency will actually generate a sound. That sound will then start to influence atoms, and electrons, the pieces that spin around the proton as part of the atom. And the consciousness of those units or building blocks of matter then essentially will start to hold different structures or shapes that then, as geometric shapes start to create the building blocks of actual physical matter that we can see and that we can touch, or that we believe we can see and touch. So that's what they're saying, is that we essentially then can influence the consciousness of these atoms and the electrons within the atoms in order to start to build essentially what we're thinking in the moment. Later on, I do ask, let's see, does a being create the reality before him or her, such as physical objects like a flower, or does the original creator of the physical object manifest it? Whose consciousness do the divas interact with to hold the form? So I was sort of curious, like, let's say you've got somebody who invents an item, let's say like a glass or something like that, and then I take the glass and I do something with it and break down the glass and create something else on my own. Who is influencing what I'm experiencing in the moment? And so the answer is, much of what you see before you is from you as source. Source creates the codes of all that is and holds form based on intention of the creator, working with the form to create the fractal physical manifestation. For example, the code that holds the creation of a seed that germinates into the flower holds the same code to develop the slate material used in the development of a kitchen counter. All matter is assembled from atoms and quantum particles that are held in place by intention and sound frequency of the diva consciousness holding the form. The diva consciousness takes direction from a creator. So the slate takes shape from the original creator that developed the planet and all the elemental materials on the planet. The countertop maker holds the intention to turn the slate into a smooth, flat surface, and the divas match the intention and hold the form. You see the output of those intentions. You, as the owner of the slate kitchen counter, then maintain the intention of that manifestation in your singular reality. It is multiple consciousness creators coming together to plan the form. Keep in mind that all you see before you, including you, is of one energy source. All is a fractal. Then he goes on to say, this principle is why some beings have learned to master shape shifting. They integrate their very consciousness with the divas in such a way to create the patterns, shapes, and matter that they desire. This understanding also allows a conscious creator to match the matter of their own body and merge it with the matter of another seemingly separate item. As I stated in another session, you can merge your hand to become one with a boulder by simply matching the frequency and sound of your being with the boulder through intention. You are the boulder. You are the divas and the elemental consciousness holding the shape of the boulder. You are both fractals of each other. You are one with all that is, was, and will be. So, in other words, what he's saying is that again, because we're all of one consciousness and we're fractalized consciousness, essentially we are the consciousness of the diva, or the atom consciousness, if you will. And if you kind of think about it in terms of general creation, there was one being, creator being, that basically came up with the concept for the formation of the planet and all of the materials on the planet. So if you kind of think of the planet having a consciousness, that consciousness eventually ended up developing the connecting with sort of the diva consciousness to create the physical material that would be like slate, for example. So that's the first order of consciousness. And then, let's say a kitchen countertop maker would take the slate and do what they need to do with it. That's the second order of consciousness that starts to interact with the divas. And then I have to maintain that consciousness of that slate in my kitchen as part of a kitchen counter. So I'm continuing to maintain that manifestation in my own reality. So that's an example of how he talks about it. The other thing that's sort of interesting is he talks about how beings who have mastered shape shifting essentially have learned to integrate their consciousness with the diva consciousness so that they can consciously match their sound and their frequency to manipulate the patterns of development of the base form of energy or of physical matter, which I think is pretty interesting. Then I went on to ask another question, which is, how can this understanding help humanity? His answer, simple: the law of attraction. Thoughts matter. In other words, they're very important. Thoughts integrated with emotions matter. You can influence the experience of your life, your very external reality, by your thought process. Most humans do not understand this and spew off thoughts and emotions that create very unsavory situations in their life. They have limited know-how or understanding that they are creator beings, not with their hands, but with their thoughts and their intentions. The universe will always respond to create a reality or physical experience to match or mirror the intention. This is why it is so critical to master emotions and polarity. Come to a place of peace within. So again, what he's saying and strongly reinforcing is that your thoughts really do make a difference on the physical reality that you experience, because you can essentially manifest your physical surroundings based upon your thoughts. He doesn't touch upon it as much here, and we'll get into future sessions, but when you have a thought and you're having an emotional experience at the same time, you're essentially amplifying that thought. So if your emotional experience is very positive, let's say it's filled with love or joy, you're going to amplify your intention with a higher vibrational frequency than if your emotion is one of anger, hatred, or revenge, or depression, or something like that. Those tend to be lower vibrational frequency energy emitters, and if that's the case, you're going to sort of manifest a physical reality that matches that. So he's saying, be mindful of your thoughts. And it kind of goes to, for any movie buffs out there who like the Star Wars saga, this would be very consistent with what Yoda basically advised Luke on, which is, be mindful of your thoughts and your feelings. So I think there's a reason why they brought that up in the movie. So again, just another series in the, I guess another set of teachings from Master Hilarion on the concept of thought and intention and manifestation. Again, I hope this helped. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, and I will continue on in another video. Thanks, bye.